Originally I created this specifically for new members, but I thought everybody might be able to get something from it. So we're just calling this Member Success Workshop. And today we're going to cover five things. The first is creating your best 30-second commercial, which I think is one of the hallmarks of what we do in WRN. It's a way to speak directly to the group to promote what you do in a unique and interesting way. We're going to talk about boosting your tip numbers, both giving and getting tips. When I was tip master, I know people struggled with giving enough tips, and I know that people struggle with getting enough tips. So I want to help you guys boost those numbers. Promoting your business to other members, because that's a big part of what we are doing here. And then increasing your sales outside of WRN too, because I want to help you grow your business, not just in what we're doing with WRN, but outside. And sales is kind of my bag. And then finally, secret WRN hacks to get the most out of your membership. There's a lot that you can. So WRN is all about tips. And what are tips? Tips is about being thoughtful. One of the hallmarks of this group is that we work hard to help other members succeed. This isn't just about us as individuals doing well. The best members in WRN are thoughtful. They're very helpful. The I in tips is being interesting. There's a lot of people in this group, so you want to be able to stand out from the crowd. You want to be able to be noticed, to be on people's minds, because staying on people's minds is key to being successful in this organization. The P in tips is progressive. You got to keep up with the times. Too often I hear members say things like, "Oh, I'm not good with technology. I'm not good with computers. I'm a technophobe. I don't know how this works." That is a business killer. In the market today, if you go around saying that you're not good with technology, people will not want to work with you. So you want to keep up with the times. There's so many resources out there, like on YouTube, to learn how to do things. So if you don't know how to use Zoom, get onto YouTube and learn the different aspects of Zoom. Got to keep up with the times, be progressive. And finally, successful. You got to be successful in and outside WRN. WRN won't do the work for you. I think a lot of people come into WRN or any group thinking, "Oh, my problems are over now because they're going to do all of my marketing for me." That's not how it works. The most successful members of WRN are successful outside of WRN, and I want to help you with that today. So let's dive right in. The first thing that we're going to cover is creating your best 30-second commercial. So I want to share with you the isn'ts and the is's when it comes to commercial, the purpose of your commercial, what it isn't and what it is. Your commercial isn't for selling your product or service to as many WRN members as possible. Now, this is surprising to a lot of people because they think wow, the whole idea is to get up and just sell. But that really isn't the purpose of your commercial. The purpose is to promote one single aspect of your product to entice members to want to know more. I rarely, if ever, have I seen someone do a commercial and then sell a bunch of their product. Usually, the way commercials work the best is to talk about something that's interesting, that makes people want to know more, that makes people want to contact you. So your commercial isn't to cram as much information into 30 seconds as possible. I see this all the time. People have this, they write out this long script and then they just talk as quickly as possible, try to shoehorn everything in. It doesn't work. No one's listening. So it isn't that. What it is to promote one single aspect of your product to entice members to want to know more. Your commercial isn't to educate members about the various and unique aspects of your product or service. This isn't an education. It is, again, to promote one single aspect of your product to entice members to want to know more. It isn't to explain the things that you find utterly cool and fascinating about your product or service. I know you're in love with your business. I know you're in love with what you do, but you know who cares? You and nobody else. You don't want to just talk about the things that you think are cool. You want to promote one single aspect of your product or service to entice members to want to know more. And that is key. This, above all things, when it comes to 30-second commercials, I want you to get this into your head. Whenever you write your commercial, whenever you think of your commercial, I want you to think, what's the one thing that is going to be interesting that will entice people to want to know more? Talk about the 1, 2, 3 strategy of your WRN commercial. 1, think of your commercial as chapters of a story, not as a whole book. So in other words, every week just share one chapter. We're not coming to WRN just once and then leaving. We are in it for the long haul. So what I do is I look at this as expanding people's knowledge of what my business is all about. And each week I give one little piece of that puzzle, one little chapter of the book. And then 3, allow members to get to know your business better over time. I don't think you have to talk about the same thing every week, or don't think that you have to tell everybody everything at once. Just allow them to get to know your business over time. So always remember what your audience, what WRN members are thinking about during your commercial. And what they're thinking is called WIFM. And I hope you know what this means. If you don't, this is a very important thing. WIFM means what's in it for me. Anybody, any audience is always thinking what's in it for me. They're not excited to learn about the various aspects of your product or service. What they're always thinking is what's in it for me? How is this going to help me? How is this going to improve my life? Is it going to be worth it? Right? So I say this a lot to my clients. You want to go to where your customers are, turn around and look at your business from their perspective. And even more than that, what's in it for me specifically? What's the specific thing that I'm going to get out of this? So here are some typical commercial pitches that I hear that don't quite work, right? Like if I were to get up and say, as your business coach, I will help you make more money, right? If that was my pitch, it might sound good, but it's way too vague. I mean, you might think everybody wants to make more money. Well, yeah, but it isn't specific. So one might say, as your printer, I will print business cards for a great price. Yeah, everybody wants things for a great price, but it isn't specific. You might say, as your real estate agent, I will help you find a great house. Well, yeah, we all want a great house, but it's not keen on the specific things that people are most interested in. So let me give you an example. Instead of as your business coach, I will help you make more money, I might say, as your business coach, I will increase your sales by 60% in just 60 days. Right now we're getting specific. Now this is something that people can see and imagine, like, wow, 60 days from now, I got to have 60% more money. Like, that's specific. As your printer, I will print business cards that will make everyone say, wow. Right? Like, who wouldn't want it? Like when you hand out your business card, someone looks at it and go, hey, wow, that's a really cool card. Right? Again, it's something specific that people can see in their minds. And as your real estate agent, I will find you a home that will give your family the loving memories they will cherish for a lifetime. Right? That's really specific. That's something that people can imagine and see. Right? Now we're getting into how it is that people take in for information, how they remember things. They remember what's specifically important to them. So when you're writing your commercial, think about the specific things. So let's build a commercial, right? Ask yourself, what's the one small thing? The one small thing I want to share this week. And by the way, I'll make this presentation and I'll make all the information in this presentation available. So if you're taking notes, you can stop because I'll just send it to you as a text file, right? So ask yourself, what's the one small thing I want to share this week? Just the one thing, right? What's most enticing to my audience about what I do, not to me? What bold question can I ask that will make people think? I don't see this nearly enough in 30-second commercials. People are just talking. When you ask someone a bold question, it makes them think, makes them process the information. that will make them remember what you're talking about? And finally, how am I making it easy for members to connect with me? Far too often, I hear people say, after my 30-second commercial, no one sent me a tip, right? But that's probably because they're not making it easy for people to connect with them. So let me give you an example. What's the one small thing I want to share this week? So I might say, when you sell more products, you make more money. Small, easy, simple. No one's going to disagree with that. Enticing. I'll show you how to close more deals quickly and easily. I think that's pretty enticing. I mean, who doesn't want that? A bold question that I might ask people. How would your life be different if you doubled your income? Right? That's bold. That's pretty enticing. And how am I making it easy for members to connect with me? So if I just said after this, well, send me a tip, right? That's still not easy enough. So I might say, send me a text right now to book a no-cost consultation. It's something that they can do instantly. So here's how that commercial might look, right? It's a no-brainer. When you sell more products, you make more money. I'll show you how to close deals quickly and easily and without being pushy. How would your life be different if you doubled your income? So send me a text right now and book a no-cost consultation. You literally have nothing to lose. Right? Now that was way under 30 seconds. I didn't have to rush it. I talked about one thing and I made it easy for people to connect with me. That was creating your best 30-second commercial. We're now going to talk about boosting your tip numbers, both giving and getting. So sadly, the number one reason that people quit WRN is because they blame the group for not getting enough tips. I would say 99% of the people who leave the group do so because they say, hey, I just wasn't getting enough tips, right? I'm giving a lot of tips, but this group is not supporting me. Well, let me tell you some simple truths about that. Yes, it is everybody's responsibility to send tips. I have to send tips. You have to. We all have to send tips. It is no one's responsibility to tip you. No one's responsibility to tip you, right? I got to send 4 tips a month. Maybe I send them all to Mikey. Maybe I send them all to Carl, right? You've got to get me to tip you. That's your responsibility. Right? You can't blame WRN if you're not getting enough tips. Right? So let's talk about getting tips right now. So the fact is, the members who get the most tips are the ones who have made it easiest to tip them. So if you're not getting enough tips, you need to change the way you're asking for tips. Right? Tragically, I see people doing the same 30-second commercial over and over and over, and they're still complaining that they're not getting enough tips. Well, it could be that the way that you're presenting yourself is not enticing people to give you the tips that you're seeking. So here's what I mean about changing the way. So first of all, when I was tip master, I actually did this. I looked at the number of tips that were actual warm leads, right? And tips are supposed to be warm leads, but only 10% of tips passed are actually warm leads. Right? We hear the definition of a tip every week. Very rarely are tips passed through that definition. So then the best strategy is to use tips as a way to build relationships rather than as a way to get customers. Right? Members love passing tips, so make it easy for them to tip you. That keeps you on their radar screen. Right? I have and I'll go through some ways of getting and giving tips, but when you make it easy for people to tip you, they're thinking about you. When I say, hey, it's easy to tip me, just do this, just do this, just do this one simple thing, and I'll count it as a tip. Right? That means that every week someone is thinking about me. They're on my radar. I'm on their radar screen. Creating more interactions with members will build deeper relationships, and that's what leads to more sales. Right? This is all about interacting. The reason that Tony the Tiger sells Frosted Flakes and it works, like why would a tiger sell Frosted, like why would that work? Because he's on there, right? He's on TV all the time, right? He sticks in your head. That's what we're working for. We have a lot of members. You've got to cut through all these people who are vying for attention and get on people's radar screen, build relationships with them. Making it easy for them to tip you is a great way to do that. So here's some examples, right? I'm easy to tip. Just set up a 15-minute chat with me by texting the word tip to my cell phone. Again, this is text magic, right? Really simple. Like you don't have to even like show up for the meeting with me. Just book it, and I'll count it as a tip, right? And even if you don't show up, I'm like, oh, didn't show, like it's okay. It's okay. I'm just getting on people's radar screen. Right? I've had people set up 10 appointments with me and miss 9 of them and show up for the 10th. Right? I'm building relationships. Right? I'm easy to tip. Just download my 3 secrets to sales success at the link I just emailed you. Right? So during the meeting, I might send out an email to everybody in the group and say, hey, I just sent you an email. Click on that link and download my PDF, and I'll consider it a tip. Right? It's not a warm lead, but I'm building relationships. I'm easy to tip. Just post a review for my business on Yelp at the link I just emailed you. And I'll be talking about this a little bit later, but like if I want people to post a Yelp review, I can't just say, do that and send me a tip. I got to make it easy for them by sending them a link to my Yelp. I'm easy to tip. Just visit my Zoom room after the meeting for 5 minutes, right? So I might set up a room on Zoom and say, hey, just show up for 5 minutes and I'll consider it a tip, right? People who are getting letters and saying, hey, you're not tipping enough, they will jump all over this. And I'm saying just show up for 5 minutes and then leave, right? But if I'm like, if I'm doing something interesting in that room, they'll probably stay longer than 5 minutes. So let's talk about giving tips now, right? If you need to increase your tip numbers, reach out to individual members and ask if they would count these kind of things as a tip, like liking their Facebook business page, sharing a Facebook ad, posting a review on Yelp, subscribing to their YouTube channel, writing a recommendation on LinkedIn, retweeting their business post on Twitter, doing a video testimonial for their business. If you're low on tips, or if you want to be the top tipper, we have 48 members. Like imagine, like you could in 1 week send 48 tips just by doing, any one of these or any others. But what's key is you need to reach out to the people first. You can't just say, hey, I liked your business page. This is a tip. So they may say, well, I really wouldn't count that as a tip. Right? So you can email the entire group and say, hey, I'd like to tip you this week. Would you consider a recommendation on LinkedIn a tip? Would you consider subscribing to your YouTube channel a tip? No one should be low in tips, including me, because there are an infinite number of ways to give tips to this group. We've covered the commercial. We've covered boosting our tip numbers. Let's talk about promoting yourself to other members. And if you would please mute yourself. All right, so WRN members will see you in one of 2 ways. They will see you as someone who wants to sell you something. This is the worst way to build long-lasting relationships. And that's what we're here for, to build long-lasting relationships. Do not show up as the person week after week who's just there to sell someone something. Or they will see you as, I want to help you with something. They either see you as somebody who wants to sell them something or wants to help them with something. And this is the best way to build long-lasting business relationships, is to be helpful. Unless I want to help you in order to sell you something, right? You want to show up as just being helpful. So the fact is, being the go-to resource for helping people solve their biggest problems is the most powerful relationship building strategy on the planet, and solving their problems without asking for anything in return. I give away so much of my time, of my attention, of my resources, because like my focus is on being in service to other members of the group. I want people in this group to be successful. Hey, if they're successful and they're making more money, chances are they're going to want to tip me more. So I am always focused on being a resource for solving their problems, which is another way of staying on their radar screen. And so ask yourself, what specific knowledge do I have that's valuable to other members of the group that I can share with them that will help them without giving me anything in return? Let me give you an example of this, how it worked and didn't work. So when I was house hunting with my fiance, I was looking at a house and there were some issues with it. So I called up our handyman, Steve Casey. Steve jumped on his motorcycle, came over to the house in that moment and did a walkthrough of that house to advise me on the work required to fix it up. He didn't ask for a dime. So who do you think I'm going to call when I need help, right? I also called Carl Brook, our contractor, and he advised me on all these construction issues that I never would have thought of, right? He gave me like over an hour of his time, right? Didn't ask for anything in return. Didn't say, hey, if you buy the house, I can help. None of that. Both of these guys were primarily focused on giving me information to help me. As opposed to, there was another member, and that member was angry because I didn't hire them to help with the house. Right now, the cost to that member was thousands of dollars because that member could have been beneficial, but instead they just focused on the tip and what they could have made. Right? The attitude of Steve and Carl was, how can I help you? The other member was, what's in it for me? Right? Like looking at this, it's pretty clear where your focus and attention is going to be. It's also pretty clear what kind of member you want to be for other members. This is building relationships. This is connecting with people. This is being in service to allow people to use your specific knowledge to help them. This is just not about what you get out of the group. So your best strategy in boosting your business to other members is during member commercials, listen for ways you can support their interest, right? This member who got angry with me, they heard me talk about looking for a house during the testimonial portion. Now they could have jumped on that and sent me a bunch of information. Instead, they just got angry, right? Other members listened for ways that they could support my interest, and they supported me, right? Ask for nothing in return. Listen to people's commercials. What are they asking for that I can help them with? Then help them asking for nothing in return. Don't wait for someone to ask you for help. Find ways to be helpful to other members. During the 30-second commercial portion, I'm just not like working on my taxes or like I'm listening to what people are struggling with. And I'm thinking, wow, what can I do to help and support them to build relationships? For example, this workshop, no one asked me to do this. I'm not in a position on the board where I'm supposed to do workshops. What I saw is, wow, there's a Tuesday where we aren't meeting. We have a bunch of new members. Well, what a great opportunity to connect with people and get them to know me better, right? So, like I was up till midnight working on this, and I don't expect to get a dime out of this. Like, I just want to interact with people. I want to help them. I want to get to know you better. So if you put your focus on boosting your business to other members by just getting to know them better, you'll be successful. So we've covered the 30-second commercials, tip numbers for promoting your business. Let's talk about increasing your sales outside of WRN. So now I'm going to geek out a little bit because I love talking about selling. That's primarily what I do, is I help people close more business. So here are the 3 most important rules for increasing your sales. The 3 most important truths for increasing your sales. Truth 1 is that people only buy from the people that they like and trust. I just can't say this enough. People only buy from the people that they like and trust. Truth 2 is very different. It's that people only buy from the people that they like and trust. And truth 3, which is completely different from the first 2, is that people only buy from the people that they like and trust. Real estate is location, location, location. Sales is about being likable and trustworthy. So in that, it's important to close more business, to stop focusing on your product as the thing you are selling. Like, I'm selling tires, I'm selling business coaching, I'm selling printing, I'm selling real estate. Don't think of your product as this thing that you're selling people, and start focusing on being a resource for valuable help and information, right? Because people don't buy things, they buy experiences. And the better the experience, the more people want to buy. Like right before the Super Bowl, TV sales go way up, right? And they don't, in the ads, they don't show pictures of just the TV. What they show is a group of people like really enjoying watching the Super Bowl. And so they're giving, what they're selling is an experience, not a thing. So people look at that picture and think, wow, that's the experience that I want to have. So let's talk about being likable and trustworthy. Right? You want to provide a unique experience for your prospect. Right? Your product isn't a thing. It is a conduit for having a unique experience in the world. You want to be enthusiastic about the results that your product delivers. Like, I love talking about sales. And I'm like, God, just imagine this world where you walk into a sales meeting and like you just feel so calm because you understand the entire conversation start to finish. Like, that's what you'll feel when you work with me. Like, I'm really enthusiastic about that. And describe the exciting world your product creates for people. And that's just what I did. Like just imagine what it's like to walk into a sales meeting and not be concerned at all. And focus on what's important to your prospect, not what you think is great about your product. We've had different members who have like sold a window tinting for your car. And they would come in and talk about like this special 3M tinting, and they were just like in love with this 3M tinting and how it works and the molecular structure. And like, they love that, but that's important to them. If I were selling window tinting, what I'd say is, imagine, it's 5 o'clock and you're driving and you know how that California sun is right in your face, right? Well, just imagine that you're driving down and you're able to look at that sun and it doesn't bother you. Everybody else is doing that and trying to drive, and you're just having a great time because of this tint makes it so easy, and the sun is never going to bother you again. Like, isn't that a world that you want to live in? Like, that's the experience. That's the thing that the prospect is interested in. That's not about what I'm interested in. The most basic rule of selling is this, and that is this will close 1 million more sales than this. When I start coaching people on selling, the thing that they start asking me immediately is, well, what do I say? What do I say when a prospect says this? What do I say when a prospect says no? What do I say to open up a conversation? What do I say to close? And the thing that I tell everybody is stop saying, start listening. Because when you listen, your prospect will tell you exactly how to close them. So before you do anything, learn about your prospect. When people set up a no-cost consultation with me, I don't get on a Zoom chat with them until they've filled out a form, because I want to learn about them. So when I talk with them, I can just hit the ground running. But let's say, before COVID, when I was at like a networking event, or when I would just sit down with someone and they didn't fill out the form because they couldn't, because it's right there. The thing that I would say is, I'm going to ask you a few questions so I can be sure that business coaching is going to make sense for you, because I don't want to waste your time. Is that okay? So you want to open up with, hey, just let me ask you a few questions, because I want to be sure that my product, whatever it is going to make sense for you. I don't want to sell you something that you don't want or need. Let's make sure. And so these are the kind of questions that you want to ask. Like, what's most important to you in terms of business coaching? What's most important to you when it comes to real estate? What's most important to you? Like when you get something printed at a printer, what's the most important thing? Right? What made you interested in talking with me? Like, I mean, we're having a conversation because you have some level of interest. Like, what is it that you wanted to talk about? Have you tried similar products and been disappointed by them? And if so, what happened? In my business, um, probably in most people's businesses, you aren't the first person that they've dealt with who does what you do. And so you want to find out what they've been disappointed with. And typically what I hear is, well, I spent, $10,000 with a coach and I got nothing out of it. I'm like, I hear that all the time. So when I hear that, that's the point that I want to approach them in terms of moving them towards being a client. Because if I'm talking about this thing over here, but they're more focused on not being taken advantage of, then they're not even listening, right? These kind of questions will help you in learning about your prospect and how to close them and what they're most interested in. Like even like Mikey, you weren't selling a product. You have a nonprofit. Well, have you donated to nonprofits and been disappointed? Like I have, because I get like I donated to like the ACLU and then just got a mountain of junk mail that I'm still getting. Like I don't want to be on a mailing list, and that might be the most important thing to me. So you want to learn what's most important to your prospect, and then what are your concerns when it comes to my product? And please be honest, you won't hurt my feelings. And I hear, I ask that because I want to like, are you worried that I'm going to take advantage of you? Are you worried that I'm just another bullshit business coach? And people go, well, yeah, because everybody today, if they got a mouth, they call themselves a coach. Like, I get it. So I want to know what people are most concerned about. And so I make it really comfortable for them to say the things that they probably wouldn't normally say to someone like me or someone in my business, because I want to know specifically all the reasons that they're thinking about not doing business with me. Because understand, when you sit down with someone to move towards an exchange of money, they are not thinking about why they want to work with you. They are thinking of why they don't want to work with you. And the reason that they're thinking that is, as human beings, we are designed to stay in what is most comfortable and what we know. And what is most comfortable and what we know is what we're doing right now in this moment. Doing anything new fires off little alarms in our heads and say, pay attention, you might not want to do this. So approaching any interaction with someone where money's going to be exchanged, they're approaching it with the reasons that they don't want to do it. So you need to know what those reasons are. And these kinds of questions will help diagnose those things. And you also want to normalize it. Like, so when someone says, well, I'm a little concerned that like I'm not going to get any value out of your coaching. I'm like, like, I totally understand that. I've been in that same boat. Like I've hired coaches, I've written $20,000 checks and got nothing from it. Like I know this pain. Right. So let me tell you what I'm doing to make sure that you get value. Right. So you can't just say, oh, well, I won't do that. Right. You have to be on their side. So these kind of questions are the things that will help you be on their side. And the other thing that I do is when I'm talking with someone, I write down their answers as they give them to me. There is something so appealing about someone writing down the things that you're saying, because what you're essentially saying is the things that you're saying to me are very important to me, and I'm writing them down so I don't forget them. We talked about being likable and trustworthy. Writing down the things that people are saying when it comes to their concerns makes you likable and makes you more trustworthy. So the other thing about in sales, that is a really easy thing. You want to put people in a yes attitude before asking for the sale. So I tell everybody this: during your sales conversation, get at least 25 yeses from your prospect. And here's how I do that. I ask questions like, are you getting this? Do you like this so far? Are you with me? Can you see yourself doing this? Does this make sense to you? You still with me on this? So throughout the conversation, I'm asking these kind of questions as I'm talking. So I'm not just blathering on about my product or service. I'm pausing and I'm asking them questions to get a yes. Because when someone is in a yes attitude, they're more likely to say yes to the sale. And the last three are really important. Does this sound good to you? Does this feel right to you? Do you want to know more? Right? People exist in one of three categories. They're auditory, right? They listen for things. They're kinesthetic. They feel things, right? Well, four actually. They're visual. They see things, or they're intellectual. It's four things. They think things. So when you say, do you see what I mean? Does this sound good? Does this feel right? Do you want to know more? You want to ask those questions at some point, so you're hitting on at least one of those qualities that people have. All right. The other thing I love about the 25 yeses is this will help you slow way down. During a sale, I see so many people, they just like vomit out their pitch. And because they're nervous and they just want to get the whole pitch out as quickly as possible. Instead, when I ask questions and when you ask questions, it'll help you slow down. Like if I'm talking to you, like, you know, if I'm saying like, hey, you know, one of the first things that we're going to do in your coaching is work out how you're going to get paid back. Does that sound good to you? Well, yeah. Well, how are you going to do that? You know, they might say, right? I'm pausing. I'm asking a question. It slows it down. It involves the person in the sales process. And so not only do the 25 yeses get them into a yes attitude, gets them used to saying yes, so it's time to close, they're more likely to say yes. It slows down the process and it helps you interact with them. So I've written 2 books on sales. One is called Selling is Bullshit. If you'd like a free copy of my book, Selling is Bullshit, just text BS to my phone, 213-409-8366. And you'll also see how my text magic works. I have another book called Increase Your Sales by 60% in 60 Days. The reason that I wrote 2 books is because some people just hate selling. And I wanted to write a book for people who hate selling. Some people want to like increase their sales. So I wrote a book about that. Right? I wrote 2 books because I know there's 2 different thoughts that people have about selling. And frankly, I think this one's the best. So you'll see how my text magic number works. And if you'd like to increase your sales, schedule a no-cost consultation with me. And so just text the word help to my cell phone, 213-409-8366. And you'll also see how you'll get a autoresponder that will allow you to set up a no-cost consultation with me. And you know, I do these all the time. These aren't about closing you as a new client. I don't really have a lot of time right now, so I'm not really looking for new clients. I've done very well this past year. I've been so fortunate. You know, even though, you know, I had some personal family tragedies, things have gone really well. I have more money now than I've had throughout my life. So I'm very excited about what's next, but I still want to help. And so doing these little 15-minute, 30-minute consultations for WRN members is something I love doing. So finally, the last thing that we're going to cover are secret WRN hacks to get the most out of your membership. So I don't want you to think of WRN as just a referral group. I want you to think of WRN as 48 people who can give you, 48 likes on your Facebook page, 48 shares of your Facebook ad, 48 reviews on Yelp, 48 recommendations on LinkedIn, 48 subscribers to your YouTube channels, 48 video testimonials for your business, 48 reviews for your Amazon book. Like, imagine what you would like 48 of. I do so much product testing in WRN. I ask people questions. I ask you to fill out forms. I ask you to review my book. I mean, you've seen all the crap I ask you guys to do. It's awesome to have 48 people at my disposal. And, you know, like the group is only growing. So, you know, there's been times where we've had 75 people, and I know that we'll get back there, you know, as we learn to do business better over Zoom. But still, even with 48, there's a lot you can do with 48 people as a captive audience. And so don't just think of this as a referral group about the amount of business that you can do. Think about it as all the test marketing that you can do. Think about it as, you know, what is it that I want that 48 people can help me with? Like, I really love, you know, every year Santa Monica does this, and Mike, you'll have to help me with this. They do some a poll where they ask for for people to vote on different businesses. And
I know,
Mikey
like this year it's most loved, but you have to vote February 12th to March 12th, and then April 1st through April 30th. And I don't know, I just don't have it's a lot to ask people to vote every day, but now I have to ask them to vote every day twice.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and thank you for that, because I will ask people to do something like review my book on Amazon. You know, I'll send it out to the entire group, and maybe 2 or 3 people will do it. So what do? I send it next week, and the week after, and the week after that, and the week after. You got to be relentless. Like, people are very busy. You can't expect people to take action on your thing immediately. So there's a lot of people, they will help you. It'll take time. You just have to be persistent with it. But I can guarantee you that your persistence with WRN will pay off, as opposed to your persistence with, you know, random people on Facebook or LinkedIn. You know, you have people who do want to help you. And so think of WRN as a place where there's a lot of support that you can get. There's a lot of testing that you can do. I never do the same 30-second commercial, because I'm always testing to see how my commercials affect people. And they can be, the members of this group can be excited and motivated to support your business, as long as you make it easy for them and there's some what's in it for me involved. Right? Whatever you ask for the group, make it simple. Right? If you want a review on LinkedIn or Yelp, send a link. Don't just say review me. Send people a link in an email and do it over and over. If you want a testimonial, like a video testimonial, include an outline. Like, here's the 3 things to talk about on the video testimonial. If you want feedback or do a survey, don't send them a PDF. Send them a link. Do it online. Google has free forms that you can set up a really easy survey. Be happy to help you with it. And for each request, offer them to tip you for their help. People like sending tips. I asked people to review my books on Amazon. I said, get 3 easy tips. I'm going to give Anastasia a lot of work. So that's pretty much it. Does anybody have any thoughts, questions, ideas, things that I completely missed that they want to share?
No, I think what you've captured what it is, Dan, and I'm glad to feel a kindred spirit here, which you and I already know. It's that the more you give of yourself, the more you receive. It's not about you, it's about the universe giving back, and it will come. So it's networking, and it's taking responsibility for your actions. And if somebody says, hey, you need to go call, even if you may think it's the wrong, a wrong connection, just do it. You never know who they might know who can be a potential customer. So yeah, give of yourself.
Thank you. And I can tell you that apart from getting people to say yes, I say yes. I say yes to, like, I've spent a lot of money on a lot of things that turned into nothing. But I don't consider any of those a waste, because the things I have said yes to has driven my success forward. Like Richard Branson today is looking at a PDF, a flyer about my podcast. Like Richard Branson is considering being on my podcast. Like, how did that happen? It happened because I have spent a lot of money. I've spent a lot of time. I've done a lot of things that ended up going nowhere. But I keep saying yes because it opened me up to all these different connections. And I mean, if I would trace back all the steps that it took to get into Richard Branson's hands, it's this circuitous path that cost me a lot of money, that there was a lot of disappointments. But because I continued to try new things, this is where I am today. So he may or may not be on my podcast, but it's still really exciting to me that, like, right now Richard Branson is like looking at my promotional information. And so this didn't happen because I was like, oh, nobody's tipping me. This happened because I did my best to open my mind. And I'm so touched that all you guys decided to be on this call. There's just 7 of you, out of 48 people, 7 of you said, hey, I want to open up my mind to something new, instead of I want to sleep in. And instead of I want to have a cup of coffee and do whatever. Like, you guys took initiative. And over, that's what successful people do in WRN. Mm-hmm. When we didn't have meetings, before COVID, I would have little get-togethers, and maybe 8 or 10 people would show up, but they were always like the top tippers. They were the top earners of the group. And I would always say, like, what are you doing here? Like, you don't need more money. Like, Carl, what are you doing here? Or Goldie, what are you doing here? And they're like, look, if I don't stay on top of things, I could really quickly go from the top to the bottom. And so I know that forward-thinking people at any level are the ones who are most successful. So, like, thank you. Not just for being on the call, but for doing the work necessary to get the success that you're seeking from WRN. And I can tell you without a doubt, I am here to support your success. And, like, I want you to be successful. And so, like, book a call with me, text me, email, like, whatever I can do. If I have the time, I want to help your success.
We so appreciate everything you do for us. You've always done so much for WRN. Sometimes gone unacknowledged, but thank you for today. This has been incredible, especially for all of our new members. So thank you, Dan. Thank you.